Priest at St. Christopher's has brought some amazing people into my life. And over the past few years, Joan and I have shared a lot of conversations. It was a privilege to get to know her and to make this journey with her. Last week, Kim and Elaine spent a couple of hours with me. We talked about today's service, of course, and we reminisced about Joan and Ed, how they met, how they lived, how their way of being influenced their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. The folks who know Fort Worth well, for them, the fact that Ed and Joan somehow became a couple is rather unexpected. You see, Ed attended Paschal High School, and Joan attended Arlington Heights High School. In the 1950s, those school campuses weren't exactly chummy. So I asked Google to paint the picture for the rest of us who weren't here for that. These two schools shared a strong and often intense athletic rivalry, particularly in football. The rivalry extended beyond the playing field, though. The most infamous event between the two schools was the Great Bonfire Incident of 1963. During a Heights spirit rally at Benbrook Lake, Paschal students staged an attack, deploying an airplane to drop rolls of toilet paper, setting a car on fire, and on and on. There were 46 arrests and miraculously 1 injury. Paschal and Arlington Heights rivalry was intense. But one day, Ed was rolling with his buddies in a car, and they saw a car full of girls. Joan was among the girls. Ed spotted her, and he was smitten, and where she went to high school did not matter. On their first date at a club, Ed was trying to introduce Joan to all of his friends, but he forgot her name. As the family story goes, he never forgot her name again, not even through his struggle with dementia. It is impossible to tell the story of Joan without also telling the story of Joan and Ed. Their lives were deeply connected. They married in 1957, and if this CPA's math is good, Ed was 20 and Joan was 18. Over the past few years, I often visited her apartment. There was always a photo of Ed on the end table next to her favorite chair. We often talked about him, the life they shared, and how much she missed him every day. They loved life. Church, family, friends, all of it was core to who they were as a couple. They were gifted in the art of relationship. Joan was always curious and interested in learning. One year, Joan and Ed received a gift, a kit for making beer. They soon realized that finding the supplies to make the next batch of beer was not easy. And so Joan did some research, and then she began buying and selling supplies out of her kitchen. And that little business began to grow. Then they moved it to the family's antique store, and it outgrew that space. And they kept moving until they had their own storefront, big enough that Ed's business could be in the back. As the family developed, Joan began purchasing hops and grains from vendors and grinding them herself. She expanded the product line being sold to include foodstuffs, winemaking kits, and whatever made sense. I'm told every grandchild served an unpaid internship running the cash register in the store. Joan ran that business for more than 40 years. She and Ed loved to entertain. She was well known for her all-day parties, and when her grandson introduced beer pong at a family gathering, Joan was first in line to say, "Well, I want to play." She was the life of the party. One of the family said Joan never met a stranger, and I can attest to that. I know firsthand what it felt like to meet Joan for the first time and become part of her life. She was a patient listener, trained as a Stephen minister. She remembered things that mattered to people. To her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, Joan was a cheerleader. If there is one thing you remember from today, I pray that you believe in yourselves the way she believed in you. Joan loved all of you in the way Jesus taught us to love one another, without condition. That kind of love is uncommon in our world. Far too often we settle for conditional love, and far too often we offer conditional love. It is conditional love that was at the root of Paul's letter to the church in Corinth. Chapter 13, that beautiful essay on love, is the middle of Paul's 3-chapter rant to the folks in Corinth. They were embroiled in a rivalry over who had the best and most desired spiritual gifts. They'd even established a pecking order for spiritual gifts. Speaking in tongues or prophecy were considered marks of status and superiority. Paul said, "That's an interesting rivalry you have going over there, but y'all have missed the point. No matter what gifts you have, without love, they are worthless." And then he wrote this beautiful chapter describing what love looks like. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. That is the kind of love Joan chose to cultivate through her life. A love that can bear the pain of a child's death or the loss of a young child's hearing is a deep, battle-scarred love. A love that can hold hope while dementia overtakes the love of your life is a strong and enduring love. A love that celebrates others' accomplishments without ever tooting its own horn is a humble love. A love that anticipates resurrection with joy, as she did, is a faith-filled love. Paul closed his chapter on love saying that gifts like speaking in tongues or prophecy or wealth or status, all of that stuff will fade away in time, but love will remain forever. When we are touched by love that is patient and kind, we know it. We are changed by it. Joan gave every one of us that incredible gift, but it is not a gift we are meant to keep and to hoard for our own use. It is a gift we are meant to pay forward, and in doing so, Joan's legacy and our own continue from age to age. With thanksgiving for the love and life of Joan Basham. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Amen.